Support for Just Seen It comes from Acorn, distributors of Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, a modern detective series set in 1920s Melbourne. Now on DVD and Blu-ray. More information is available at acornonline.com/PTV. On this episode of Just Seen It, we review the romantic comedy, Love Is All You Need.
But you know, lemons, they are my favorite fruit.
What I liked about this is that it took the classic rom-com and actually made it real because they had interesting and complicated characters.
The sci-fi thriller Oblivion with Tom Cruise.
How long? 60 years.
It sucks you in, but it raises a lot of questions that never get answered, or if they are answered, they're answered in an unsatisfying way.
Mud, a southern drama with Matthew McConaughey.
Why do you have that pistol?
Protection.
This script comes to us from Jeff Nichols, the director. It's a crisp, slow-paced film, a lot like Take Shelter.
And we do a retrospective on the Star Trek universe and a preview of Star Trek Into Darkness.
They're closing fast, bearing 285.
J.J. Abrams with this reboot has freed himself from the shackles of canon.
All right here on Just Seen It. As Ida's cancer goes into remission, she discovers her husband has been unfaithful. When she travels to Italy for her daughter's wedding, she meets Philip, the father of the groom.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
You're so awful and stupid and not nice.
As their children prepare to marry, the two find a love of their own.
The mere fact that we ever met in the first place is something to be happy about.
And love is all you need.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brenna. And we're here to talk about Love Is All You Need. The Danish film Love Is All You Need. We've all just seen it. And what do you think, guys? Do we need it?
We do. We desperately need this movie. Why are you raising your hands
you
already?
Are
I give up. I give up
person.
because I cannot anticipate your guys' taste. Normally, you guys are a cynical crowd. This is not a very unique film.
I'd have to disagree completely because I am not a person who likes romantic
I know.
films or romantic comedies.
I know.
If
So what are you
for
doing?
me to like this movie, because it's so well written.
It's well written.
The writing is funny and it's heartfelt and it's realistic and you can identify. And then my favorite part about this film is there are a gajillion characters and they're all fully fleshed out.
Your leading lady is very unique and very un-Hollywood. I love her performance. I feel like that saves this film. But I think the plot twists are incredibly predictable Hollywood plot twists. Oh, the one person doesn't get married because he's got this issue that, like, I thought was sort of telegraphed from the first 5 minutes in. The fellow who cheats on his wife and brings that person to the wedding, which is exactly what a Hollywood movie would do. All of the Hollywood tropes, I feel like they're there.
Ja, han er et fjols. Men han har også bare virkelig været forvirret og trist og ked af det, ikke? Alt det med min sygdom, det har virkelig været hårdt for ham. Vil du høre på, hvad du står og siger?
It's really in the writing, is even if they do use certain tropes, the way that they expand on the tropes is really what's unique here. It isn't just like jerk cheating husband, it's jerk cheating husband who rationalizes it by telling his wife who just fought cancer for 2 years, this has been just as hard on me too.
I feel like some of these are the performances that save the film because you have the two young people, and the two young people are incredibly predictable.
And you know what's interesting about that is you mentioned the young couple and the guy has some issues.
Some issues.
You could have made him out to be almost a jerk or almost a
which
villain.
they didn't, and
they
I like
didn't.
that they didn't.
And they also gave him a really good reason for why he was getting married. Because of his relationship with his father, they made it realistic.
I guess so. It's just that I felt like that's supposed to be a plot twist. There's supposed to be suspense there, and there just wasn't.
We all, I think, both of us guessed that too. But I was just kind of waiting to see how they were going to play with it, and I thought it was really well done.
The things are predictable, but the way that they go about achieving the predictable results is what makes this film enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's why I feel like it's a good film, but that's also why I don't feel like it's a fantastic film.
As I was watching it, I'm like, this is what a romantic comedy should be. It shouldn't be this over-the-top, runaway bride stuff. You know, yeah, it has its conventions, but it also, was believable, it was real. The people were complicated. They weren't just cardboard cutouts. And like you said, every character had something interesting about them.
I went into this film not knowing any of the cast members except for Pierce Brosnan, but I ended up going out of it loving all of them.
Right.
Particularly the lead, Trine Dyrholm, who plays Ida.
She's so good.
She is amazing. She has the best smile I have ever seen.
I fell in love with her in 5 minutes.
The moment she smiles, your entire face lights up and your heart lights up and you're just like, oh my, you're amazing.
And she can do more just in her face than most American actresses can do in a monologue.
She is this character who is sort of set up to play goodness, you know, goodness incarnate. But she manages to play it with humor. She is simple without seeming dumb. She has just these very open, very vulnerable reactions.
We have Pierce Brosnan, and God, I loved seeing him being bumbling and silly and awkward with comments, especially since I'm used to, you know, suave Bond.
Right. He quickly won me over, too.
He was vulnerable, he was lovely, and the unlikeliness of these two characters being put together, you're just like, it's
and
amazing.
even that,
it's so
that kind
weird.
of standard, we don't like each other at the beginning chemistry was working because she was kind of giving it back to him. And usually
she
we
was
don't see
giving it back to him in the sweetest way.
And you can see...
Why would anybody work with you?
You can see
very nice. The relationship develop. And you usually, I mean, usually whenever I see these films, I'm like, why do they even like each other? And this one, I could see them fall in love.
So the tree can make both lemons and oranges?
Yeah.
I like that. But you know, lemons, they are my favorite fruit.
Oh.
I really can't imagine the world without them.
The film was directed by Suzanne Bier, who did In a Better World and After the Wedding, both kind of sad and intense movies. Her and her co-writer, Anders Thomas Jensen, have done both those movies together, and this is completely different for them.
Whenever I go into these kind of movies, I'm always nervous, particularly when they take place in beautiful European locations, because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna see 50 shots of Italy and the coast and the ocean, and I was actually really impressed by the lack of unnecessary, beautiful landscape shots. The only ones we saw were beautiful, but they were also served a purpose.
Yes.
Right.
They set up a location and they set up a time period, they set up that they were at the beach.
A mood, or they had like a little montage in the beginning.
For fans of romantic comedies that don't like to be pandered to, this ended up being one of my favorite movies of the year so far, so I say see it.
I think the plot here needs a lot more oomph to be a great movie, but I also think that Trine Dyrholm's performance is endearing, so stream it.
Don't let the sappy title or the poster or the synopsis throw you off. This is a truly wonderful film. See it.
Well, our votes add up to 2.5 tickets, which is a see it for Love Is All You Need.
Love is all you need. Love is all you need.
Scene 1, take 1, marker.
My name is Liz Manischel, and I'm from Santa Fe, California. My favorite movie is Broadcast News, written and directed by James L. Brooks. I love it for the dialogue, but also because the character of Jane Craig is the best written female character that I've ever encountered. I love being a reviewer for Just Seen It because as a filmmaker, I find it's really important to deconstruct the failures and successes of other filmmakers and then apply what I've learned for my own films.
Our DVD pick of the week is one of our favorite films of 2012, Silver Linings Playbook.
Hey, so Pat, what's this I hear about you just getting out?
From the loony bin! I thought you said you had it together. You were solid. I am solid. I was solid at the game. I don't know where I belong.
Hey!
Oh, what the hell?
I just want us to be friends.
So how did you lose your job?
By having sex with everybody in the office.
Everybody?
I was very depressed after Tommy died.
We don't have to talk about it.
Thanks.
How many were there?
The film received nominations at the Academy Awards for Best Picture, Best Director for David O. Russell, and nominations in all 4 acting categories, with a win for Jennifer Lawrence as Best Actress. When Liz, Aaron, and Salim reviewed this film last fall, they gave it a definitive see it. Also out this week are Broken City and The Guilt Trip. We gave both of those a stream it. But if you haven't seen Silver Linings Playbook, you should check it out right after you watch today's show, and then go to our website and post your comments. So there you have it, several selections for your home viewing enjoyment. And if you don't like The Guilt Trip, just look for The Silver Lining.
Jack is a repairman on a war-ravaged Earth. When a spacecraft crashes, he rescues a mysterious woman from his past. They find themselves caught in a battle between humans and aliens. in Oblivion.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Sean, and we're going to talk about the sci-fi film Oblivion, starring Tom Cruise, from Joseph Kosinski, the director of Tron Legacy. We've all just seen it. Kevin, tell me about Oblivion.
Oblivion is a beautiful, mesmerizing, pretty, confusing movie.
It's a pretty confusing movie.
As it starts to unfold, I was sort of going, wow, what the hell is going on in this movie? This is really interesting. I'm getting sucked into this. I still don't know what's going on in this movie. Okay. I still don't know what's going on in this movie.
And then the credits roll.
And then the credits roll.
But you know what? To the director's credit, their ability to string us along and keep us interested, I have to say, is part of what it takes to be a good storyteller. For me, the biggest problems with the film had to do with the fact that it didn't really have anything to say. And, you know, science fiction is the genre where we get to work out larger themes. It's where we get to deal with larger ideas and say, what if?
I think we can agree the plot wasn't so good, but I actually did like the acting in this. I liked all the actors. Tom Cruise, you know, he's his usual earnest
I love
stuff.
Tom. And I could see he was really
wanted it to be good.
He really did. And
did.
he just needed a little more slightly better material, and he could have nailed it.
I liked Cruise in this movie. He does have a movie star persona that sometimes he's just basically on screen as himself, or at least what you think of as himself. As the movie starts to bring forth layers of this person that we didn't know about, I thought he could have played that more. But overall, I thought it was a good Tom Cruise performance.
What did you think of Andrea Riseborough?
I liked her. I thought she was a good match for Tom Cruise. She had some empathy. We felt for her. I didn't like the plot twist with her because I thought, here we go again. Women are crazy and they're going to ruin everything. Really?
They're either crazy or they're just, you know, quavering lip, moist eyes, wide-eyed, I don't know where I am or why I'm here, arm candy, which is the case with Olga Kurylenko.
I liked her.
What's not to like? It's just they don't give her anything to do. Oh, come on, I'm sorry.
But I thought
she's a NASA astronaut. And what does she do?
She's been sleeping for 60 years.
Your ship came down. Jack managed to pull you from the wreckage. I have to get back to her ship.
Kosinski and the cinematographer, Claudio Miranda, who of course just won an Oscar for Life of Pi, like you said, I mean, the visuals here are something to look at. So he has a visual flair, certainly. He's got to work out the kinks in the script a little bit. It sucks you in, but it raises a lot of questions that never get answered, or if they are answered, they're answered in an unsatisfying way.
Despite the plot, this film is so gorgeous that I can't justify telling somebody to watch it on their TV screen. So for that reason alone, I'm going to say see it.
Oblivion is indeed a beautiful film. However, I like a little more substance with my science fiction, and I have no problem with telling people to watch it at home on their big screen televisions. So with that, I say stream it.
Oblivion is both mesmerizing and baffling in equal parts, so I'm going to average that out to a stream it.
Well, our votes add up to 2 tickets, which is a stream it for Oblivion. I can live with that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Did you live on Titan?
Scene 1, take 2, marker.
My name is Sean Wright, and I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, go Big Red, and I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. My favorite movie is probably the movie I find myself watching the most often, or when it comes on TV, I have to sit and finish it. I would probably go with Rocky. I love great characters. I love characters that you can get behind and you can root for, and Rocky has a whole bunch. You got Sylvester Stallone, of course, but you also got Burgess Meredith as Mickey. I like reviewing for Just Seen It because I love movies and I love to talk about movies, and it's great when you can debate something and you can disagree on it, but it doesn't matter. We're civil about it and we get to talk about things that we really love about the art form of filmmaking.
Two teens stumble upon a small island in the Mississippi inhabited by mud.
You never said your name.
Mud. You can call me Mud.
Claiming to be a fugitive from the law, he plans to reunite with his lost love.
I reckon we can make a deal or something.
A deal for what?
Though skeptical of his plans, they help him make a daring escape in mud.
Hi, I'm Salim.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Sean. Director Jeff Nichols had a picture a couple years ago named Take Shelter, which we loved. Now he has a new movie named Mud. We've all just seen it. What do we think?
So Mud is written by our director, Jeff Nichols. It's a very crisp and slow-paced story about these two kids, Ellis and Neckbone. And they travel to an island on the Mississippi River and find a fugitive there named Mud. And they make a pact with him to help him escape and reunite with his long-lost love. And some crazy stuff happens. I liked it, I did. I don't know, there was something missing for me. They have themes running throughout the film. They deal with love and romance and especially what this young kid Ellis's conception of love is. And while I feel it and I see it there, I just feel like it could have been there a little bit more. You know, I left the theater thinking about the film, but it didn't resonate with me as much as I would have liked it to.
It just didn't match up because the very beginning of the film, it has this mystery. Who is Mud and why is he in this boat that's stuck in a tree? And for the very first 2 acts, that's the main thrust. Unfortunately, once we finally find out what this mystery is, it's not that big or that substantial. And I feel like the movie really should be is, who are these kids? Right. You know, why are they so important? Because they are very precocious in their own way. Maybe not book smarts, but one of them built their own motorcycle. They're very independent. And I feel like that was the more interesting part of the film, which it kind of does shift to in the 3rd act. But by that point, I already was so invested in this mystery.
Why do you have that pistol?
Protection.
Having Mud in this story felt like a way for us to find out more about the kids without really focusing on them.
The mystery of it, I was comparing the film to Take Shelter while watching it.
Me too.
it does unfold in the same way, and parts of it work in the same way, where there is this mystery. You have characters that are a little shady. You're not really sure, is this person trustworthy? Is this person violent? And then when it's all pieced together, it kind of seems to fall into place exactly the way you expect it to. There aren't a lot of twists and turns once it sort of settles into the main thrust of the story, and maybe that's why we weren't sort of left with the kind of energy in the end of the picture that we felt like we should have had. Yeah. But I still think that the mystery itself and the way the story unfolds it kept me involved throughout the entire
totally.
picture.
I was enthralled while I was watching it, but then when it was over, I sort of just said, oh, okay. What happened?
Well, I mean, I loved the writing. I loved all of that, but there were many points that I felt bored, especially in the 2nd act. I could feel the tug of the 2nd act.
But the performances are strong. I really enjoyed Matthew McConaughey playing Mud. He brought a lot of mystery, he brought a lot of emotion and that twang, that southern twang that he's famous for. He's had a great couple years, you know, Magic Mike and Bernie and Killer Joe, and he's getting a lot of acclaim, so it's good to see that he's making smart choices still.
There are fierce powers at work in the world, boys. Good, evil, poor luck, best luck. As men, we gotta take advantage where we can.
There's a lot of internal musings with the character. I sort of saw Matthew McConaughey thinking, which I don't necessarily see that in a lot of Matthew McConaughey roles.
No, this is probably his most subdued performance in the past 10 years. And I had first heard about this film at Sundance because of how good his performance was. But I feel the real stars of this picture are the 2 kids.
Yes.
Ty Sheridan, who plays Ellis, and Jacob Laughlin, who plays Neckbone. I thought these 2 kids were fantastic. They were able to elicit such adult emotion, even though they're 14-year-old kids. And it's not because these are just special kids who are smart or whatever. No, it's because of the world that they've grown up in. They have poorer backgrounds, and it's a necessity for them to be this independent.
Nick. Dude, look at that big. You gotta see this. Nick. What? Someone's here. What? Someone's living here.
Ty Sheridan was great. He was in Tree of Life.
He was in Tree of Life,
and
yes.
The whole movie has to flow through him, essentially, because he is the protagonist, and we're seeing a lot of these things filtered through how he reacts to them.
Well, Huck Finn was certainly an inspiration for the movie. The director, Jeff Nichols, actually had the kids read Huckleberry Finn while on set.
Awesome.
And that's sort of going into his direction. If there's a fault at it, maybe it's that there's just too much on screen. Too many forces at work and too many influences on Jeff Nichols. He cited Raymond Chandler and Cormac McCarthy and Huckleberry Finn and several movies like HUD and Fletch and Lawrence of Arabia, and all these varied sources maybe just put too much weight on the film. It's perhaps too ambitious.
Mud was a unique and slow character examination that was fulfilling in just about every way, so I'm gonna say see it.
Jeff Nichols creates an interesting coming-of-age story in parts, but unfortunately becomes a little bit muddled under the mystery of who is Mud. Stream it.
Mud's tone and some terrific performances make it worth a mild recommendation. See it.
All right, our votes add up to 2.5 tickets, which is a see it for Mud.
Cheers. Cheers to a combination of dirt and water.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Star Trek universe. As its ongoing mission approaches its 50th anniversary, we do a special retrospective and a preview of Star Trek Into Darkness.
Hi, I'm Brenna.
Hi, I'm Scott.
And I'm Salim, and we're here to talk Star Trek.
Yes.
The latest in the franchise, Into Darkness, is coming out in May, and although we haven't just seen it, we are very excited about it.
We are extremely excited about it. We're also excited to have Scott back on the show. We hear you're
for Access Hollywood. Great to be here, talking about my favorite subject.
You start us off. Tell us why you love the show.
Listen, I have been a Star Trek fan since I was 6 years old. First episode I ever saw was Mirror, Mirror. Spock has the goatee. It's the evil Enterprise, and I was immediately hooked. Love the movies, love Next Generation. Not so much a fan of Voyager, Deep Space Nine, or Enterprise, but I love the original series and the movies and JJ's reboots.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you. I'm a fan from childhood, although I didn't get to watch it when it originally aired. I watched it with my dad growing up a lot, because we're both really big sci-fi and fantasy nerds.
The Star franchise for me to watch was Star Wars, because that was the first thing that I had watched. And for me, it had the action, it had the adventure, it had Boba Fett. And Star Trek, unfortunately, it didn't have all that. It had this huge story that I didn't have the time to kind of get into from the beginning. That's why when the 2009 version came out, I loved it. It had everything that I would have wanted in Star Trek. It had the action, the adventure, the explosions, but then I also got to learn about these incredible characters that I've heard about for so long.
But the thing is, that makes you the perfect candidate for that last movie, because that needed to be a movie for people who didn't like Star Trek, didn't know anything about Star Trek, and it succeeded on those levels. It was a Star Trek movie for people who don't like Star Trek.
The cast is extremely diverse. You have Nichelle Nichols, Ricardo Montalban, you have George Takei, and in the 60s, mind you.
Yeah.
This show aired during the tail end of the Civil Rights Movement, and having these sort of strong characters in a genre that was something other than a sitcom was really important.
I loved the characters. I aspired to be like Kirk, Spock, McCoy, especially Kirk. Here was a man of action. Here was a man of passion. Here's a man who got the girl every other week. But he was a man who always said and did the right thing. People looked up to him. He always had the answers. To this day, I still think of him as a great role model.
In watching the 2009 film, I was able to see the beginnings of a lot of these characters and these themes, which I didn't know was in the original show. And I feel like if I would have known, I would have watched it, because Sci-Fi at its best talks about all of these issues. And I love when Sci-Fi talks about these types of issues. So the fact that they did that in the TV series a long time ago, I would love to watch it. It's just like I'm sure a lot of people who didn't, or who weren't that versed in Star Trek, would probably love to get into it as well.
But look, this is a good way for us to segue into the new film. Okay, now, we were big Trekkers. You were not. We all loved the film because it satisfied on both levels. This was a movie that, with the later Star Trek TV shows and later films, everything started to feel stale. People were burned out on Star Trek fatigue, something no one ever thought would happen. It needed to go away. People needed to get hungry for Star Trek again, and it needed a fresh set of eyes to make it fun and vibrant again. Enter J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot, and that's what that movie did.
Usually whenever I hear that a reboot or a remake is announced of something that I care about, I am automatically nervous and scared, because I'm really passionate about the things that I like. And when I heard that there was going to be a Star Trek reboot, I was terrified, because these are my favorite characters, this is the show that I love, and they're gonna mess up Spock, and that was what I was most worried about. But they didn't, actually, and they did the exact opposite. They brought them back to life.
When I first heard about Star Trek, I was like, oh, okay, they're rebooting it. This is yet another reboot. But then I saw the previews, and I was like, this is exactly what I've been wanting in Star Trek. It has a whole Star Wars feel to it, but looks 10 times better.
Yeah.
And then I went into it, and I was blown away. I'm a screenwriter, so I'm paying attention to how good the writing is. It was spot on. It was tight. The first scene shows you how emotional it's going to be, shows you how funny it's going to be, shows you the weight of the emotions. And I was shocked. And then by the end of the film, with the whole alternate universe, I was just impressed with taking the time to really appreciate the fans, but then also bringing it so that someone like me could also love it.
Yeah, that was J.J. Abrams' most shining moment, was when he decided that this film was going to be in its own world.
Now that the reboots thing is completely finished, now you can really get into telling a good story.
Yeah.
That brings us to Star Trek Into Darkness.
Yep.
Everybody's back. The gang's all here. The band is back together. JJ's directing again. Same writers, including Damon Lindelof. And, you know, you've got this villain played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Golden Globe nominee for Sherlock.
Yeah.
Maybe he's Khan. Maybe he's Gary Mitchell.
I'm leaning more towards Benedict Cumberbatch being Khan, because in the newest trailer, he looks at Kirk and says, "I'm better than you."
I am better.
At what?
Everything.
It could also be backed up by genetic engineered awesomeness.
You know, there has been a lot of speculation about Benedict Cumberbatch's character. I want to be surprised. In the last film, when Spock is on the bridge and he's revealing that this Romulan ship from the future has altered our destinies, and I went, oh my gosh, they're doing their own thing. I want to have that moment when Spock's mother died. I want to have that moment of surprise when Spock and Uhura embraced. I want to have moments of surprise. If Benedict Cumberbatch is Khan, then okay, great. Khan is a great character. Would I have liked to have seen them do something completely different because they can do something different? Why retell a story that was already done when you can do whatever you want?
Even if it is or isn't, I still think that it's probably going to blow us all away.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's go around and give our final thoughts.
I think Star Trek Into Darkness is poised to be one of the greatest sci-fi sequels of all time, up there with The Empire Strikes Back and Aliens.
I think that you should see it on opening night at midnight with your friends and in uniform.
Star Trek, believe it or not, gives me what I used to love and hope for in the original Star Wars franchise: tight writing, an incredible world. Definitely see it.
I think we're all excited for it.
All excited for
Yeah.
it?
Cheers.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper indeed.
Scene 1, take 3, light marker.
My name's Aaron Fink. I was born in Los Angeles, California, and I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's very difficult for me to pick a favorite film. I usually jump back and forth between a few, but right now I think I would say Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It was written and directed by Shane Black. It stars Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer, and I love it so much because it's really funny, it's self-reflexive, and it's the best comedy that I've ever seen turn into an amazing thriller, and I didn't know what was gonna happen, and I loved every minute of it. I love being a reviewer on Just Seen It because I get to discuss movies with some great friends and very knowledgeable people. And movies are my favorite form of art, and so to discuss it in a public platform is very rewarding.
On our next episode, we review the original Netflix horror thriller, Hemlock Grove. We do some heavy lifting with the action comedy Pain and Gain, directed by Michael Bay, and uncover the new mob drama, The Iceman, based off true events. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Well, Kevin cries for this movie, so maybe you should
You
see
almost
it.
cried
I
for the
know.
host,
I'm just
so I
cold.
don't
I did not.
Support for Just Seen It comes from Acorn, distributors of Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, a modern detective series set in 1920s Melbourne. Now on DVD and Blu-ray. More information is available at acornonline.com/PTV.